Welcome, everyone. Could I have roll call, Cassie?
Sure. Trustee Hill,
Present.
Trustee Rhodey,
Here.
Trustee Gergen,
Here.
Trustee Hopkins,
Here.
Trustee Roberts,
Here.
Trustee Yankee,
Here.
President Knudsen,
Here. Okay, we're all here. Okay, public hearing presentations, we have none. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, the regular village board meeting, March 3rd, 2020. I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments, corrections as to the presentation tonight? Yes, sir. Ed Hill.
March 3rd minutes on page 3, item E, discussion and possible action for recycling center yard waste. The 4th sentence down, Trustee Hill stated that only village property owners would be able to use the facility and the village would sell stickers. They only be able to use this facility for yard waste. Anybody in the county can use the, regular recycling, but only village citizens can use it for yard waste.
That should be added.
okay.
Is there any other questions or corrections?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 3rd, 2020 board meeting
With the
Okay.
correction?
with the correction.
I thought I heard a second.
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, second one is the approval for the special village board meeting dated March 25th, 2020. Again, I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments, corrections as the way they are presented? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve March 25th meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, item 4, citizens' comments. There's an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and I ask that everybody please do that. And speakers are asked to please state their name and address for the record. And please, we're going to try raising your hand, and hopefully Scott will be able to see it or something will show up. So I'm just throwing it out there. Are there any people in the audience that would like to make a comment at this time? Anyone at all? You do have their sound on too, Scott, right? Their speakers?
Well, I can unmute everyone in case people don't have the hand raising feature.
Okay, why don't you do that? Unmute everybody, and if
Okay.
someone wants to make a comment, please say something.
Okay.
And just in case anybody's looking for the raise hand feature, there is a raise hand button. It doesn't have to be a physical hand raise. If you scroll on your screen and click participants, you should see all the names of the people that are on the call. And there should be a little button that says mute me or raise hand, just for reference.
Is there anybody that wants to make a comment? Okay, well, we're going to move on. If you did and could not get through, I ask that you please send a text or email, or actually an email to the village hall stating so, along with your comment. Item 5, ordinances, we have none. Item 6A, possible action on resolution 2020-14, resolution of the Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee establishing public participation procedures for the Village Comprehensive Plan updated number 1. Scott, you want to just give everybody some info on this?
Sure. I think as the board is aware, the Plan Commission is undergoing the review of the comprehensive land use plan and is in the process of reviewing the different chapters. They're set to go to chapter 3 at their meeting next week. One of the components with the land use plan update is a public participation plan, and the commission reviewed and has recommended for board approval the resolution that before you this evening, outlining that methods for providing information are through the Plan Commission meetings, news releases, websites. The village had conducted a survey earlier in 2019 as part of the strategic plan, and that information has been shared with the Plan Commission, as well as before the land use plan would be adopted, there is a public hearing component that at a minimum, a public hearing be held before the village board before adoption. The commission can also have a public hearing before the Plan Commission itself.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from anybody? Just say something.
Jeff?
No.
You know, seeing as how we're seem to be doing virtual meetings like this, I don't see any mention of virtual meetings being a possibility. And do we need to modify that based on who knows how long this is going to go on, and whether we're going to have to go back to doing virtual meetings in the future?
Yeah, good point. When the commission took this up, it was back in March before we went the route of virtual meetings. So I guess with the decision made at the special meeting for the village board to have virtual meetings until such time that we're allowed otherwise, I would think virtual could be considered as part of the resolution for the meetings.
Well, I think that would be covered under, I think
Yeah,
that would
go
be
ahead.
covered under public meetings.
I agree,
public
so long
meeting-
as we're complying with the public meetings, open meetings law. The form of the meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, I don't think really matters, so I think we're okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? Do you want to just put the language in? Can the language just be put in there, Mark, just for?
If you'd like to, I don't think it has to be, but if you'd like to, that certainly can happen.
Ed, would you prefer it having you put in there?
Well, it's not, you know, I mean, it brought my attention to it when we got down to the other methods, you know, of being workshops, open houses, and informational meetings. And that's where I kind of caught my eye the most. But I mean, if we're all good with, you know, because we've adopted this process of allowing for public participation via, you know, virtual meetings, then I'm okay. We don't have to change it.
Okay, great. Then I will look for a motion. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll look for a motion for adoption of 2020-14.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-14 regarding the public participation procedures for the village's comprehensive plan update number 1.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jeff, I think we had discussed when we had done these before is to do this by roll call, so it makes it
Okay.
easier on the clerk to know, you know, how everybody's voted.
Okay,
So I'd suggest that's what we do, either that or have the vote recorded by a chat.
okay, let's do the roll call, Cass.
Okay. Trustee Hill,
Yes.
trustee Rhodey,
Yes.
trustee Gergen,
Yes.
trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Roberts,
Yes.
trustee Yankee,
Yes.
president Knutson.
Yes,
Okay. 7-0.
motion passes, Cassie, by,
Huh.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we'll move on to item 8B. Possible, item 6B, I'm sorry. Possible action on resolution number 2020-15, resolution of the Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee regarding essential government function employees. Scott or Mark, who would like to handle this one?
I can kick it off and Mark can fill in any blanks that I might miss. This is in response to the governor's order, emergency order number 12, safer at home. In it, item 12 of that indicates that each government body shall determine essential government functions and if any, identify employers or contractors necessary to perform those functions. So Attorney Blum put together the attached resolution with input from staff in terms of outlining the different positions and the functions that are deemed from our perspective as essential, as well as listing any contractors or consultants that we would anticipate using for during this current period.
Are there any questions by any, or Mark, did you want to fill in on anything?
No, I don't have really anything to add. It's, as I said, it's for, Scott said, it's for purposes of fulfilling that requirement under the Safer at Home Act. And it's the significance of this is solely for that. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Exhibit B, where we list our outside contractors, seems like a very short list, which surprised me. But Mark, from the perspective, if we have one that gets added in over the next month or so, could we just amend this document, or is this locked and loaded then?
No, I think you can still amend it, and I think the idea is that the state was looking for each governmental entity to take a look at this and decide what they felt were essential functions, for the purpose that perhaps there's some things that could be limited. In your case, you know, I think that you're right. There could be additional items in the future, but this would not preclude, you know, adding, you know, to this at some point down the line.
Okay.
So Mark, regarding that point, could we just include a blanket statement, contractors that are approved in the future?
You know, the only concern I would have with that is that there might be some contracts where you would say that, you know, it would be performed at such time as the Safer at Home order is lifted. So because of the fact that there could be some contracts that would fall into that category, I would prefer not to just make a blanket statement like that. But by the same token, it doesn't mean that you can't, you know, add to this.
Okay. And then one more question on regarding Exhibit B, item 6, the 2020 pending infrastructure contracts.
Yes.
Item C, I didn't know if that was.
Go ahead.
Was there supposed to be a name in there? Is it a typo? Is it a?
No, that was just a typo.
Okay.
So I don't know if I think that that Dan is, at least I think I saw him before on here. If there's anything else that he feels that should be added at this point?
I had a question about the village board or president being on this. Is that a situation that needs to be put on there or no?
It was referencing, you know, employees and contractors. You as board members are not employees. And I think by your definition, because the state requires, you know, your existence as an incorporated municipality, I don't think that it's necessary to list that. The idea was to identify basically staff and contractors, again, for the purpose of going through the process of saying, well, are there some that perhaps, you know, aren't needed right now and could be, their duties could be suspended while this is going on. So I don't think, Jeff, you need to be listed specifically.
Okay.
Jeff, I was kind of along the same lines as Tony started earlier. You know, we do have essential service providers. We have a fire protection contractor, we have an alarm system contractor, we have a preferred vendor for our IT systems. I'm sure we probably have a preferred, contractors for HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those types of things. And if we don't have them listed, then are we excluding them from being able to come in?
Well, I think at this point, it would be preferable to have all of those kinds of entities, and that's why I'd asked for the list. So if there are additional contractors along the lines that you mentioned, we should be adding those. Does that preclude them from working at this point? A lot of those industries are by definition essential functions for other reasons, but for those that perhaps aren't, it would be important to include them.
Could it just be a blanket statement of, because Scott, we have contracts or agreements with several of those types of essential businesses, right?
Yeah, and actually, when Mark asked me for the list of contractors, those are ones that didn't come to mind. I was thinking more of the regular ones for like engineering and
Right.
that versus the.
Could I make a suggestion that perhaps with a motion to approve that you just, Trustee Hill outline the ones you just mentioned, and then we'll identify who those, who fits that bill, so to speak, and include them in Exhibit B.
Okay. Let's make just for item number 13, then I guess would be essential service providers. Yeah,
Yes.
and to be listed. So we'll amend it in that regards.
Okay, but you made a list, though, of various kinds of contractors, and I think the idea would be to identify who those specifically are that fit those needs that you just mentioned, and then we'll
Right.
include them.
I'm just saying that, we would put them sub underneath essential service providers, which would be 13 sub A, B, C, so on and so forth, with Scott identifying those contractors and providers by name. I don't know who all those providers are that we use. I know that we have Johnson Controls, I believe, over at the library. There's somebody else for services there. I don't know who you're using for fire protection and fire alarm and building security. The Taylor Computer, is that our IT?
Yes.
So those would be all listed as essential providers, and I'll leave that up to Scott's, recommendations for who they are. Is that okay?
Yep.
Should we also be including park and recreation operations and staff?
So we list, the city and park operation services. So I think whoever the city would determine would be necessary to fulfill that, would be included. But if you'd like that stated differently, we can. It's under number 7 there.
So if somebody needs to come and do work on the library, would they just be considered contractors?
Well, really, the library board should be doing this themselves, because we're a fiscal agent, and we also have some ownership responsibilities. But in terms of operations, the library board makes those decisions.
Well,
So
I
in my
understand.
mind, they should be doing this.
I understand, Mark, and they've done some things, but my concern was whether this had to do, the same goes with Park and Rec. They have their own board, which governs the Park and Rec department. So I was looking at this more of being the village as an entity, and that it would be anything that is related to government function for the village. So it seemed to me like it would all be under one umbrella, because the library board wouldn't be able to make, while they could make decisions about the library, could they say that these people are essential government function?
Yes.
They can?
Yeah, they are because of the way that the statute's set up. You provide fiscal support for them, but in terms of operations, I mean, for example, who the library director is and what the staff is and who they contract with for, everything from HVAC to the elevator to, whatever it might be. Those are all their decisions, and deciding who those should be should be up to them.
Right, but they can say these are the essential,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, if the village, I mean, because of the way that libraries have been separated from, typical government, other government entities, cities, villages, towns, et cetera, I think that is their responsibility to do.
well,
The city is a little bit different because of the park situation. We contract with them, and then who they decide then are necessary to discharge that contract is a city determination, not ours. So that's why 7 is written the way it is.
so the library board should be putting together a list of essential
What they
government.
think their essential functions are and who they, believe are necessary. I mean, we can include it on here, but I really think that's a library board function.
Scott, would you please forward this to Nan so she's aware of it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Scott, one other person, a contractor just came to mind as your phone service provider.
Oh, yep.
So I'm sure that's different than our IT and, Ethernet or
Internet, yeah.
whatever we have. So with the recommendation to add the essential service providers, as noted, and then I think Park and Rec is pretty well covered then, Bob, on item 7.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Yeah, I have a motion and a second to adopt. Are there any further discussion? Yeah, we'll have a roll call vote, please, Cassie.
Sure. Trustee Hill,
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey,
Yes.
Trustee Gergen,
yes,
Trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
Trustee Roberts,
Yes.
Trustee Yonke,
Yes.
President Knutson,
Yes. Motion is hereby adopted. Resolution 2015. Okay, item 7, old business, that we have none. Item 8A, discussion and possible action on agreement with Waukesha County Center for Growth Incorporated. Scott, would you like to lead us again?
Sure. Yeah, before you, the annual agreement for the Center for Growth as a participating community. We've included work that's been completed to date with the assistance of the Center for Growth. I see Tim Casey is out there and available to answer any questions there are. Towards the end of 19 or early part of this year, there was the compiling of the Economic Development Roundtable for economic development, whether specific or part of another function, to start getting together on a quarterly basis for networking, specific to sharing success stories, struggles, commonalities, as well as the implementation of the Grow Fund, which is private funds that are compiled for loan opportunities for small businesses. And while I'm not aware of the specific businesses, we have had 2 businesses within the village be able to participate in an application for funding through this process. And then also with the strategic planning process, Tim was part of the partner input in the interview process, as well as participating with the strategic plan implementation in terms of working to compile and assist us with noting funding opportunities, grant opportunities for economic development incentives.
Questions, comments?
I just want to say that I've been very pleased with the Waukesha County Center for Growth, and we had Craig and I had a meeting, and Scott with Tim, and it was very helpful for this part of the strategic plan that we've been working on. And so I think that I think we should continue to support them with our contribution.
I would have to echo those comments, not just what's been done so far, but also as we go forward and we start defining better those 7, actually now 8 areas that we've identified for development and redevelopment, and building out those cases for those areas to engage the Center for Growth to help us really get the word out about those and help us start moving those processes proactively along. So I think in the next year, it'll become even more important for us.
Yeah.
I think it was as we emerge from the situation that we're in right now, and businesses dealing with and villages and municipalities dealing with the issues that we're going to be dealing with in the future. I think the importance of the Center for Growth is going to be even more important. So I would also endorse continuing the relationship.
Yeah, I would echo those comments that Bob just made. And Tim, if you wouldn't mind, I would love your perspective in terms of how many calls you've been receiving with everything going on, and how much your office has been lit up with some of this stuff.
Happy to. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been getting lit up, as you said. We sent all the staff home on Tuesday. Would that have been the 17th, I think, or the 18th, and started to work remotely. But we have had daily staff meetings, first by phone and then by this type of GoToWebinar setting or GoToMeeting setting, with all the staff, the 3 of us that are part of the Center for Growth, as well as the Business Alliance staff. One of the things we've spent a lot of time on is understanding all of the new programs that are coming out, and you've heard about some of these, the economic injury disaster loans through the SBA, then the Paycheck Protection Program that goes directly through lenders, and making sure that we have as accurate information as possible. And we have that on the website for the Center for Growth and for the Business Alliance. I can tell you that Lucy Waldhuter, our full-time business consultant, was at 50 plus 64 companies the last time I talked to her, and I'm sure with today's activity north of 80. I've been in touch with about 20 folks, but one of the things that we found was we wanted to make sure we had accurate information and we're directing people to the appropriate place. We backed up Lucy with 2 other staff people within the Wisconsin SBDC network out of other offices. And we are on the street right now. We're hiring another half-time position to be housed in Waukesha when we get back to officing to back up Lucy as well. And what we anticipate is right now, when the Paycheck Protection Program was opened up to lenders, that brought into the fray, if you will, 43 lenders in Waukesha County with probably 100 branches with literally hundreds of commercial loan officers. So I've stayed in touch with the 4 that are on our board and that are supporters of the Grow Fund. And I can tell you that each of those banks has done as many as 1,500 to 2,000 loan applications in the last few days. So like everyone else, we're trying to triage, make sure we have accurate information out there, but we do very much anticipate that as people either make loans or can't quite consummate the process, if you will, and be approved, or even as they get loans, there's going to be a whole series of needs. I think the greatest threat is for the small and medium-sized businesses who don't have the depth and the retained earnings and the depreciation on their balance sheet and all of the other things that are going to help the larger companies get through. So we're doing everything we can to position to be able to help those folks, because unfortunately, I think some small businesses aren't going to come out of this. The better a job that we all do, the more of them get the doors back open, get to stable, and get back into business as we get out of safer at home mode and into reopen the door mode.
Tim, specific question to the PPP program and some of the SBA lenders. It sounds like you've got a Rolodex of some of those lenders that are open for business.
Yes,
And maybe just in the context of the question, I know that there are many businesses whose banks aren't open for business and they're now kind of on the street looking
Right.
to form a new relationship. And that's kind of challenging given the scenario.
Right.
That was one of the under thought through parts of this program. So do you have a
Right.
list of those that you can direct them to when faced with that question?
Yes, we do. And I shared in a couple of instances when we had information we were comfortable was accurate and we had it early in the process through professional organizations and through SBA, we pushed that out to one or more contacts at each of the municipal partners, including Scott on a couple of instances. But one of the things we consistently say in the information we push out on the website is feel free to call Lucy, feel free to call me. And again, we've got at least 2.5 people backing Lucy up. Because to your point, you can go on the SBA website, put in your zip code and get that list of 43 plus lenders in Waukesha County, all of whom have done work with the SBA before. Most of the banks we talked to said, I'm going to work with my existing clients first. And then I will take others if I'm satisfying all my existing customers. Lucy will be happy to make referrals, and I will as well, to banks that we know of who are now saying, okay, we've taken care of our customers. We're now open to new customers. And we know of one bank, and specifically, I'm not going to mention a name, that is now doing about 35% of their application volume is new customers. So we'll help direct people to whatever resource we can, because there's 35 million small businesses in America. There's 12,500 businesses in Waukesha County. And when you look at just hotel and accommodations, food service, and other services, there's 3,000 businesses that fit that description in Waukesha County. And those are the folks where I have the greatest concern that we respond to their need and help them all get the doors back open.
Oh, that's great. Well, if it's more appropriate offline, I'd love to connect with you to find out who that bank is and who some of the ones that are open for business, because I think that's going to be vital, keeping some of our businesses afloat here, is getting them a connection point as quick as possible so they can get these funds. Hopefully as early as next week. We'll see when they start getting released. But thank you for your work.
Happy to do that. I don't like to mention names in public settings, even virtual public settings, but happy to do that.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
And there's one thing that I'd like to see though. It's been a few years since our community profile's been updated. And
Right.
you know, I know right now it's not really the right time to do it with everybody working remotely and whatnot, but you put that on your list of to-dos for for this year.
Yes, Trustee Hill, I think one of the things we looked at when we prepared those was they used 2000 census data, or excuse me, 2010 census data. We're doing the 2020 census now, and we should have that information before year's end. We thought that was the appropriate time to then go ahead and redo all of the profiles when we have new 10-year demographic data.
But I think we'll also want to do a refresh on pictures and graphics and things along that order too. So
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions or comments?
No.
If somebody would like to make a motion,
I'll make a motion for us to continue our financial commitment for it's a 1-year contract.
Correct.
Waukesha County Center for Growth.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to continue. Any other discussion? Roll call, please, Cassie.
Can I ask who seconded? I didn't catch it. I don't know if
Craig.
Tony or somebody else.
Craig.
Okay. Okay. So, Trustee Hill,
yes,
Trustee Rhodey,
Yes.
Trustee Gergen,
Yes,
Trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
Trustee Roberts,
Yes.
Trustee Yankee,
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion is hereby carried.
Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
thanks,
Hey,
Tim.
Gil.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim,
Stay
appreciate it.
safe.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8B, discussion and possible action on settlement agreement between Menard Inc. and Village of Pewaukee related property assessment appeal for tax years 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Scott, you want to handle this or?
Sure. All right. before you, you've got the settlement agreement with Menards. In brief summary, their 2016 appeal is dismissed as part of the proposed settlement. The assessed value for 2016 was $10,018,000. Settlement values for 17 and 18 is $13,850,000. The assessor's values for those 2 years was $14,471,900. So it's a $620,000 decrease from that, but above their expert's value of around $5.35 million. 2019 settlement is slightly less at $13,500,000. The assessor's value was the same of $14,471,000. Menards has signed off on the settlement agreement on their part, and the values tied to the settlement are those that were determined by the assessor retained by our legal counsel for this with Larry Nicholson, which is a market value of $13.8 million. The overall refund that would be due for all taxing jurisdictions for 17, 18, and 19 would be a little over $34,000. The village's share of that would be $11,153. And we would, should the board approve this, we would work with legal counsel to make sure the proper paperwork would be filed with the Department of Revenue for chargeback of taxes to the other taxing jurisdictions.
Questions or comments?
Hey, Scott, can you, I recall the discussion around the logistics of paying the money back to Menards, and I recall that we pay it all back and then we are refunded from the other taxing entities?
That is correct. We make the blanket payment back, and then there's paperwork through the Department of Revenue that we have to file. They certify, and then they direct the other taxing jurisdictions on their amount that they have to pay. That would be filed, I believe, yet this year, and then I think by February or March of next year, I'd want to double check the timing, we would be receiving funds back from the other taxing jurisdictions.
So the total 34,000 would come out of one of our funds this year, and then we would not see the roughly $23,000 until next year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the settlement, there is no assessment of interest costs, which is part of Menard's request, but they are not asking for interest at this time, or as part of the settlement.
When is the payment due?
I believe it's within a certain time frame after the board would approve the agreement.
30 days. Item number 4 on the settlement agreement.
Yeah, within 30 days, correct. Thank you.
You know, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but you know we've made strides from what Menards wanted to get to here. I just hope, and I don't know if this is the appropriate forum, that our state legislators start really addressing this.
I agree.
Mark, you've looked this over, the agreement, and you're okay with everything the way it's stated?
Yes.
Okay.
So Scott and or Mark, I mean, this obviously takes care of the past. In going forward with 2020 or beyond, so how are the assessment values going to be looked at going forward? I mean, are we stuck at 13,500,000 going forward, or can that be adjusted, and or do we have to worry about them keep coming back year after year trying to push us back?
So it still can be adjusted. Obviously, the market overall would dictate that. So simply because it's this number now doesn't mean it can't go up, but again, given the current economic situation, I'm not sure that that will be the case. This January 1st, 2019, then, controlled the taxes for this year, that valuation. But is it possible that they can bring a claim again in 2020 as part, of an objection filed early next year? Yes, that could still happen. I can't tell you it won't. In fact, unfortunately, that's been the pattern here.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the agreement for 16, 17, 18, and 19.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Cassie, please.
Sure. Trustee Hill?
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey?
Yes.
Trustee Gergen?
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
Trustee Roberts?
Yes.
Trustee Yonke?
Yes.
President Knutson?
Yes. Motion is hereby carried. Approved. Item 8C, discussion and possible action on request from Joint Park and Recreation Board to approve transformer relocation project at Lehman Family Lakeside Park. Scott, I believe this was brought to the board earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was, I think, reviewed with the board during budget discussions last fall with regard to the overall parking lot reconfiguration. First phase of that is related to the relocation of the transformer, and Nick and the Joint Park and Rec Board have worked on pulling together that information. We have the cost. Nick is with us this evening, as of course as Bob is the trustee rep to get into specifics of it. But there are fund reserves within the Lehman Park Fund to help with covering this expenses. It's anticipated at the year end 2019, an unrestricted net position of around $226,000. So there are certainly funds available to assist with covering this expense. And with that, I can turn it over to Nick and Bob to go into greater details or answer any questions.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi, Nick.
I think the first thing is that obviously this is part of a bigger picture and something that was started right as I was coming on and Kelly was transitioning out, looking at reconfiguring, redesigning, and significantly improving the parking lot on the entire property. And as we kind of went down this road with R.A. Smith, and we really liked a design that they came forward with after like 2 rounds or so, this was recognized as really the first thing that needs to happen. In case you guys aren't familiar with the property, we have 2 transformers located directly in the middle of the property that were fenced in. We also had Loey Lehman's dumpster on our parking lot property still, and that's something that was discussed as could remain as is until we approached the parking lot project as a whole. Then she would take that dumpster back onto her current property. We've worked with We Energies to figure out what this might look like and a couple of proposals, and tried to really dive into there's 2 transformers. Could we get that down to 1? Would we have to have an electrical pole? Things like that. So we've really feel that we've done our due diligence to determine what the needs are, and then how to efficiently relocate this while keeping service to the same properties that the transformers currently service, being ourselves and both neighbors. I've tried to lay out all the costs and what the transformer relocation project might look like for you guys. The timeline is basically we have to get a check cut to We Energies for them to, kind of, in case you can't see it, but air quotes here, start the project. They have currently told us 2 to 4 weeks after receiving the check is when we can expect the project to be completed. We have started a little legwork with some additional electrical work being burying our service to the Lehman Park property building. So there are minimal additional items that we've really taken into consideration, and I've tried to lay those out. We will have some curbing around the transformers, and then some asphalt repair after We Energies is done with the transformer relocation. I'm hoping that summarizes what you guys were provided, and if you have any questions, I can certainly try to answer those, unless, Bob, you have anything else that I maybe missed in that summary.
Yeah, and I guess just mention a couple of things. First of all, this, as Scott had said, this is our phase one of a multiple phase of improvements that are going to be made to the park. I do want to thank Nick for the amount of time that he spent in nailing this information down with We Energies. There was a lot of difficulties and things that had to be taken care of as part of this, and I know he spent a lot of time on it, so we do really appreciate his effort in this. I do want to also mention that obviously we don't know what effect the whole situation pandemic is going to be having in regard to income or expenses in the coming year, but I can promise you that our approach has always been very conservative, both in the expense and the income side, and we will especially do that this year until we get a good feel for what's going. But as Scott had mentioned, we've built up a surplus right now in the Lehman Park Fund that's going to be just under probably $250,000, and that the expense for this will be coming out of that fund. And then as the other phases come forward and we nail those down, you will make decisions on timing going forward from that.
Nick, how comfortable are you with that asphalt estimate at $1,000? It seems a little light. I mean, I realize that the park and rec board approved this up to 23,000. Right now, your estimate's at 21,604, and that includes the revised quote that you already received from We Energies. That was an increase of $2,200, correct?
Yeah, I am fairly comfortable with it. So after We Energies finishes their trenching, they backfill with slurry, which, if you're not familiar, is okay to drive on. It's not ideal, but honestly, anything in that parking lot right now isn't ideal. So I'm fairly comfortable with the estimate that we got from PLM on that it's just basically we gave them square footage, and that was the number that they were able to provide for us.
So it was a number from an asphalt company, not just somebody reached out and grabbed that number and said, let's just throw $1,000 at it.
Correct.
Okay, all right, that makes you feel better.
So you said that those transformers service the neighbors on both sides. So did you mean the Park Avenue Pizza building, or did you mean the condos?
Park Avenue Pizza, sorry.
Okay, so they don't have anything to do with the condos?
No.
Okay.
So are you looking for us to approve 23,000 like the joint board did, or just the 15?
We're looking for the 23 because the 15 is only going to take care of the transformer relocation, but there will be some additional costs to finish I guess what we're calling phase one of the project.
And this comes all out of the Lehman Park Village does not pay a cent.
Correct.
Okay.
And the 23 gives them some flexibility, Jeff, in case there are some minor cost overruns. We handstring them at 21,604, then they'd have to come back and have us approve, $300 over that, right?
Nick?
That's correct, Nick?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the 23,000, right? For, or up to 23,000 for the moving of the transformer at Lehman Family Lakeside Park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cassie, roll call, please.
Sure. Ed Hill,
Yes.
or sorry, Trustee Hill.
I don't know about either. Yes.
I was writing. Okay. Trustee Hill.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins.
Yes.
Trustee Roberts.
Yes.
Trustee Yankee.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion is hereby approved. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nick, good luck.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Item 8D, license approval and vendor permits. Item 1 is a new operator permits, operator license, and we have for Walgreen, Fort Keeps, Buffalo Wild Wings, Good Eats, Pewaukee Corner Pump, Mod Pizza, and Billy Holes. I will look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented for new operator permits.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Hill.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins.
Yes.
Trustee Roberts.
Yes.
Trustee Yankee.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion is hereby carried. Item 8D2 is a agent change for liquor license holder for the Quick Trip located at Dynex Drive in Pewaukee. I will look for a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Cassie again. Roll call.
Trustee Hill.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins.
Yes.
Trustee Roberts.
Yes.
Trustee Yankee.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion is hereby carried. And because we did not approve the checks and invoices for February last month, item 8E is to approve the checks and invoices for February. And we have the general fund for the amount of $2,968,886.52, capital project $253.54, water utility $28,753.01, stormwater $654.84, sewer utility $300,494.27, cemetery $14.98, lake patrol $90, and the Lehman Lakeside Park Fund of $606.52. I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Cassie, roll call.
Trustee Hill.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins.
Yes.
Trustee Roberts.
Yes.
Trustee Yankee.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion is hereby carried, and we need to acknowledge the library fund in the amount of $59,798.28. I will look for a motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to acknowledge. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Hill.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
Trustee Roberts,
Yes.
Trustee Yankee,
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. Motion checks and in, everything is checked, okay, and acknowledged. Citizen comments, item 9. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with the board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please state their name and address for the record. Is there anyone out there that would like to make a comment at this time? You can just speak up if you'd like.
Am I allowed to make a citizen's comment, Mark?
No, you're not.
Seriously?
Seriously, you're a member of the board, and if you want something to be discussed, you have the ability to put it on the agenda, so that's disfavored.
You said you had to put
Okay.
it on.
Is there anyone that would like to make a comment that's not on the board?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Robin Kuharski, and my family and I live at 324 High Street. I'm calling in tonight regarding the planned railroad crossing work at Wisconsin Avenue, Oakton Avenue, and Forest Grove Drive. Thank you, Trustee. Thanks to Trustee Hill, I was able to see the proposed work schedule this afternoon. I would like to request that the village contact the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and ask them to amend the schedule. I believe that scheduling the Oakton Avenue work to occur over the Memorial Day weekend holiday would be detrimental to the downtown businesses, which will, pardon me, will hopefully be open by then. Additionally, it creates a traffic mess following the Memorial Day parade and activities at Village Park.
Thank you very much for that comment. Anyone else that would like to make a
I
comment?
knew she was gonna do that. I already saw it. She texted me. It makes total sense.
Who's,
I think that was unintentional.
oh, okay. Anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time?
Hey, KY, what's up? Kevin Yankee.
Okay. Item 10, then, we're going to move on to the adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
What's that?
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Trustee Hill,
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey,
He's on mute.
Bob, put your thumbs up.
That's a yes, thank you.
okay, Trustee Gergen,
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
Trustee Roberts,
Yes.
Trustee Yankee,
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. The meeting is now adjourned. I look forward to seeing everybody back here in the second meeting.
I would like to just make one comment, please. I'd like to thank Cassie and Jackie for the awesome job that they did with the election and all of their staff that helped.
Thank you.
Yep. Very good.
Agreed.
Cassie, how
Yeah.
was the actual walking traffic on election day? I mean, we had such a high percentage of residents that did early voting or absentee voting. I mean, was it really busy or was it pretty light?
It was like a steady trickle.
That's good. That's good.
Mark, are we okay with this? I mean, the meeting is adjourned?
Okay with what?
Yeah, okay, I get it.
All right. Very good, Cassie. Thank you. And Jackie, too.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See
Thank
ya.
you.
Happy Easter all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Happy Easter.
You too.
Bye.